A scientist once set out to find the self in the human brain. He mapped neurons, traced electrical signals, examined consciousness under a microscope. But the deeper he looked, the more something strange became clear. He couldn't find the I that experiences everything. There was no single place where the observer, the thinker, the feeler existed. Instead, it was like chasing a shadow, everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Now, think about this for a moment. If you close your eyes and ask, "Who am I?" Who is asking that question? And who is hearing it? We assume we are the thinker of our thoughts, the doer of our actions, the one making choices. But what if the very act of observing proves that you are something much bigger than your mind leads you to believe? Throughout history, people have dedicated their lives to answering this question. Some traveled to mountaintops, others sat in silence for years. Some turned to philosophy, breaking down human nature piece by piece. Yet, no matter the approach, the answer always pointed to something unexpected. The self is not what we think it is. You were never just your name. You were never just your memories. You were never just the emotions passing through you. The mind wants to make sense of itself by attaching to an identity. It tells you that you are this body, this personality, this set of experiences. But where is the proof? When you close your eyes, does this identity have a physical shape? Or is it just a collection of ideas? Most people live their entire lives without ever questioning this. They assume that the voice in their head is them. But they never realize that this voice constantly changes. The thoughts you had 5 years ago are not the same as today. The emotions you feel now will not last forever. So if everything within you is temporary, then what is the one thing that has remained constant your entire life? This is where something profound happens. When you begin to observe your thoughts rather than identify with them, something shifts. You realize that you are not just the thinker. You are the one watching the thoughts happen. Imagine walking into a crowded room filled with people arguing. Each person is trying to pull you into their conversation, demanding your attention. This is exactly what happens in your mind. One thought tells you to be anxious about the future. Another tells you to regret the past. Another convinces you that you are not enough. But what if you simply stepped back? What if you stopped engaging with every thought and just watched? This is a secret that almost no one realizes. Your mind creates endless problems because it needs something to focus on. It thrives on questions, doubts, and anxieties, keeping you distracted from seeing its own illusion. But the moment you stop playing its game, you begin to experience something rare: silence. And in that silence, the illusion of you begins to dissolve. Try this. Sit in a quiet place and observe your thoughts without reacting. At first, the mind will resist. It will flood you with distractions, memories, worries, and doubts. But if you wait, if you truly just watch, you'll start to notice something incredible. The thoughts come and go, but you remain. You are the awareness behind them. The moment you see this, your relationship with your mind changes. Thoughts no longer have power over you. Emotions no longer dictate your identity. The endless mental chatter no longer feels like a prison, because you now recognize that you were never inside it to begin with. This is the shift that changes everything. When this realization sinks in, life itself starts to feel different. You no longer take every thought so seriously. You no longer react to every emotion as if it defines you. You no longer fear silence, because you understand that it is not empty. It is full of something greater. Once you experience this, you cannot unsee it. It's like stepping out of a dream and realizing you were asleep the entire time. And the best part? You don't need to do anything to achieve this. You don't need to meditate for years. You don't need to chase after enlightenment. All you need to do is watch. Because once you start watching, you'll realize you were never the thoughts to begin with. In the late 19th century, a brilliant scientist named Santiago Ramon y Cajal was obsessed with understanding the brain. He dedicated his life to mapping neurons, believing that if he could trace every connection, he would find the seat of consciousness, the self, hidden somewhere inside the mind. But no matter how deep he went, there was no core, no center, no final you to be found. This isn't just a scientific mystery. It's something every ancient wisdom tradition has hinted at for centuries. The idea that we are a fixed self is an illusion so deeply ingrained that most people never even think to question it. Imagine two people sitting in a cafe. both drinking coffee, both experiencing the same moment. One is completely lost in thought, regretting something they said earlier, worrying about the future, playing old memories on repeat. The other simply watches, the taste of coffee, the warmth of the sun, the quiet hum of people talking in the background. They are in the same place at the same time, but living in completely different realities. One is trapped inside their mind. The other is just here. So the real question isn't who is the observer, it's this: what happens when you stop identifying with the mind altogether? And this is where we can go even deeper. Think about dreams. When you're inside a dream, everything feels real. You don't question the logic, the people, the strange places. But the moment you wake up, you realize it was all a projection of the mind. What if waking life works in the same way? What if the thoughts, the self-doubts, the constant stream of mental noise are just another dream? One you haven't woken up from yet. And here's where it gets even stranger. Neuroscientists have tried to pinpoint the observer in the brain, the part that sees experience rather than just reacting to it. But every time they look, they find nothing. Because the observer isn't something you can hold, locate, or measure. Because it's not a thing, it's an awareness. And when you finally see this, everything changes. ThriveX, where growth begins. Don't miss out. Hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon to stay inspired. Together, we'll unlock your full potential.